So just to set some context about today's session before we sort of jump straight into the panel discussion. Firstly, STEM is hard. I know it sounds like an obvious statement, but we're just going to sort of break that down a little bit. So these are some of the key challenges that are faced by many STEM students. First of all, it's a heavy schedule for students that have to be prepared for this sort of volume of classes and information. They're going to be under a lot of pressure. Staying organized and getting all the correct information can be time consuming and really overwhelming for some students. With all this in mind, time management is key, but unfortunately, not all students have this skill naturally. And so STEM students have a lot to keep on top of. And we know that stress can lead to a disengagement, um, which can be particularly disastrous for STEM learning. It's particularly due to the fact that STEM subjects tend to involve cumulative learning. Attention is key. Content will progressively build on previous content, so retaining that high level of understanding and knowledge is vital. With dense lectures and heavy schedules, it can be really challenging to deliver the level of engagement that is needed. Handwritten notes and tools which fully automate note taking aren't necessarily effective, as they run the risk of preventing that active participation instead of encouraging it. So if a student disengages with content and fails to build that deep understanding in each and every class, they can find themselves falling behind very quickly. I personally found this when I was studying maths as a student. This can really speed up that disengagement cycle and potentially lead to dropout. Add to some of the practical challenges that students can face, such as large lectures and classes, they can feel overwhelming and distracting. Where you sit in class can really affect how much understanding you have of the key information. Recording can pose a problem with audio quality of technology if you're using technology to take notes. And lastly, if you have slow Wi-Fi. As you know, distractions in large classes are rife, so it's easy to see how key content can be missed. So, can AI help? It's pretty clear from everything that I've just said that STEM students are under a lot of pressure, and we're going to deal with this question today. So, now why we're all here, our fantastic panelists, we're going to be holding a discussion around these key themes, and then we're going to have a bit of a Q&A towards the end. So I want to just give a very special welcome to Caitlin Gazar, who's an Associate Director of Accommodation Services at Wilfrid Laurier University up in Ontario, Canada. We've got Saul Santana, who is the Director of the Access Centre at Richard J. Daley City Colleges of Chicago, which happens to be one of my favourite cities in the world. And we've got Shannon Needon, who's an upper school learning specialist at Sandy Spring Friends School as well. So a really broad set of experiences across our panel. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Really, really appreciate it. So let's jump straight into this first question. Can we share some examples of AI tools that have been making sort of measurable differences or that your students have been using that really have helped sort of STEM accessibility at your institution? Shannon, I'm going to come to you first because you're already unmuted. So I'll go to you first if that's okay.
Sure, that sounds great. Thank you. So I'm coming from a K through 12 environment, so a little bit different than most of you that I see in the chat. I think what we've really tried to do, our teachers, because we work with K through 12 students, are very concerned about safety. And so one of the things that our what we call our inquiry guides, who are educational technologists, really look for tools that can help create guardrails while the teachers are also using them. So we use Magic Schoolhouse quite frequently. And one of the ways that they've used this in the STEM and at lower grades particularly is by creating AI chatbots that create scenarios for the students to work through that have very strict guardrails on them. So the students really get a sense of autonomy because the chatbot walks them through the scenario and the teacher sets all of the guidelines on it. So they might set, exactly what they're looking for in the student responses, and then the chatbot will engage with them in a way that pushes them towards those responses. And then the teacher can see on the back end a live feed of exactly what's happening. So this has been a really valuable tool for particularly our lower and middle school teachers who are willing to engage with it to help get our kids interested in STEM topics particularly.
That's really great. And how do those how would those chatbots sort of be set up? Is this sort of something where a student is almost going through sort of a role play scenario through STEM? Is it that sort of thing, or is it more of sort of a sort of a question and answer sort of thing just through a chatbot instead? How does that work?
So, like they might, so they set up a scenario. The teacher sets up a scenario. So they might ask the chatbot to take on the role of like an expert scientist in a lab, in a lab where they are trying to create a new, it could be in depending on like let's say a new chemical compound or something, and then they'll engage with the chatbot in that role. But meanwhile, the teacher has also set up all of the different, whatever the lessons have been on that week to match the scenario.
That's fantastic. I really like that contextualizing what a student is, sort of bringing the theory to that sort of real time example. That was something that I personally struggled with as in high school was you'd learn a particular equation or sort of a chemical reaction and things like that. And my first question was always, how what why am I learning this? Why am I doing this? What is this for in real life? So being able to do that like that is fantastic. Saul, I'm going to come to you next. In terms of sort of examples of different tools and things, it'd be great to get your
Yeah,
input.
for sure. Well, one of the things, besides my role as a director of the Accessibility Office, I'm also an adjunct professor of history here at City Colleges. And a couple of things that chatbots have been able to been utilized is by when I assign these sometimes very heady articles, academic journal articles, I allow students in my class to use that to create this summary. And it's been very, very beneficial for them. Also, the writing assistant. Aspect of it as well too helps them a lot. I don't allow them to use AI to compose any part of the responses, but I've found that it's been really beneficial as a way of categorizing major points of the article, and it makes it makes coming to the lecture a lot more productive. Because it kind of creates this equitable stance between students because everyone gets that same information.
There for sure.
And it's one of and I think one of the themes as well is that AI it's inevitable. It's not going anywhere, and so I think the more and more that educators embrace it, I think the better it'll be for all students and professors as well.
Sure. Kate, then I'm going to come to you. In terms of sort of AI tools that have sort of made a difference to students, I'd love to sort of hear your thoughts.
There. When you sent me these questions, I kind of like came at this in two different respects, and I think Saul and Shannon have kind of focused on the learning, but a lot of the time, when I get pulled into these conversations, I'm talking to students about just access to the information, not like how to learn it, but can I get this information in a format that works for me and the disability that our students have. And STEM can be really challenging because the complexity of the content, data heavy, we're talking about formulas and things like that. So I was trying to think about what AI tools that are specifically good for STEM. And I mean, I'm not sure that one really stands out, and each has their own challenges. So I think we're still in progress, but I do think the challenges that you brought up in your slides about heavy schedule, cumulative learning, the type of learning for sure. The AI tools are there, very similar to what we'd see in other subject areas as well, like lots of scheduling tools that students are using. I think note-taking tools, there are some that really do help students integrate large volumes of information that could be carried forward from course to course. I'm thinking like Notability or Notebook LM. They do a good job of large scale. So yeah, that's what came to mind when this question came up for me.